Moving on to section 4, which is our polynomial operations. Simplify this expression. 7x squared minus 3x plus 5, all of that's in parentheses, plus, in parentheses, 2x squared plus 4x minus 8. When it says simplify, that just means get it down into as little terms as possible by either adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, whatever is applicable to the problem. So I see a nice addition sign right here. So it means I'm going to set this up like an addition problem. So we're going to have 7x squared minus 3x plus 5, and then 2x squared plus 4x minus 8, all lined up perfectly like that, with each like term matching spaces with each other. And then I'm just going to add like an addition problem straight down. So we have plus 5, and then underneath that is a minus 8. So 5 minus 8 is going to be negative 3. And we have a negative 3x plus 4x. That is going to be a positive x, or a positive 1x, right? Because there's always a little invisible 1 in front of that x. But normally we do not have a 1 in front of that there. Like your answer, if your answer just had an x in it, would not have a 1 in front of it. It would just have an x. So you do need to remember that those are the same thing. 7x squared plus 2x squared, that's going to be 9x squared. So this that we just came up with is our answer. So I'm just going to highlight that. 9x squared plus x minus 3 is our answer. 28 is subtraction. We're going to subtract 5x minus 9 and 3x plus 2. The thing with subtraction that makes it different from addition is that this negative sign needs to be distributed to every term that is after the negative sign. After, okay? So this 3x plus 2 turns into negative 3x minus 2. And now we set it up like an addition problem. 5x minus 9, and then we're going to put our newly transformed second term. We have a minus 3x minus 2. Put our line, and then we add down. Negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. 5x minus 3x is 2x. And that is our answer. And now we're on to multiplying. We have x times 4x minus 7. So this is distributive property. X times 4x. X times 4x. And then we have plus x times negative 7. So x times 4x is going to give us 4x squared. Because when we multiply variables, you need to add exponents. Anything without an exponent, so an x without an exponent, is technically to the first power. All right, and then we have x times negative 7, which is just negative 7x. I didn't mean to erase that. Highlight, there we go. 30 is another multiplication, except this one has two binomials. There are a few ways to do these types of problems. There is the FOIL method, which we didn't cover too much. There's just distributive property. There is using the table graphic organizer, and there's also the one that mimics traditional multiplication. For number 30, I'm going to do both the traditional multiplication and using the table, just to show you two different ways. So I'll start with our traditional multiplication. What you do is you need to take the two terms and line it up, just like we did with the addition and subtraction, and make sure every term, every like term aligns, right? So when I'm writing this, I have the 3x and the x lined up on top of each other, and I have the 2 and the minus 5 lined up on top of each other. I'm going to draw our little line here and then multiply. So I'm going to do negative 5 times 2, and I'm going to put our answer right here, negative 10. And then we will do negative 5 times 3x, which is negative 15x. And now, just like with normal multiplication, when you move on to the next part, you will add a 0 down below and put a little plus sign in front of it. And now we're going to do x times 2, which is 2x. And then x times 3x, which is 3x squared. And now, again, just like with normal multiplication, you add these two rows that you got. So negative 10 plus 0 is negative 10. Negative 15x plus 2x is negative 13x. And this is nothing. Plus 3x squared is 3x squared. So, did it again. 3x squared minus 13x minus 10 is our answer. So now, same problem, different method. I'm not going to do this for every single one of them, but I will do it for this one. So if you use the table, I'm going to do 3x and 2 on the top. I'm going to draw a few spaces here. A few spaces. All right. 3x and 2, because that represents 3x plus 2. I'm going to put x and a minus 5 to represent x minus 5. And then within these boxes, we are going to match up each row and column and multiply those together. Meaning in this first box here that I just scribbled in, we're going to multiply the 3x with the x and put our answer here. So 3x times x is 3x squared. And then I'm going to move on to this box that I'm scribbling in here. And that is going to be a 2 times x. 2x. And then 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. And 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Again, how I did this is, right, I took, this 2 and I multiplied it with that 5 to get our negative 10 here. And it's the same thing with each other box, right? This 3x and this x I multiplied to get that 3x squared. And so on. So now that we have this, you're going to take these and pull them out of the box. So we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 15x minus 10, and then combine like terms. So 3x squared minus 13x minus 10, and we get the exact same answer as when we solved it the other way. So this is all based off of personal preference. Doesn't matter which way you solve it, as long as you get the answer. So whichever one you're most confident in. So now I'm going to move on to 31. I am going to use that traditional multiplication route for number 31. So we have 6x minus 1 times 2x squared plus 2x plus 3. So I will start to line things up. We have 2x squared plus 2x plus 3. And then we have a 6x minus 1. Always put the larger term on the top. It just makes everything easier. And then I'm going to get started on multiplying. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 times 2x is a negative 2x. Negative 1 times 2x squared is negative 2x squared. So that's it for the first line. I'm going to add a 0. 6x times 3 is a positive 18x. 6x times 2x is a positive 12x squared. And 6x times 2x squared is a positive 12x to the cubed, to the third power. And then we add straight down. So we have negative 3 plus 0, which is negative 3, negative 2x plus 18x, which is a positive 16x, negative 2x squared plus 12x squared, that is a positive 10x squared, and then finally, nothing plus 12x to the third power, which is just 12x to the third power. And that is our answer. And if you are confused as to what I'm doing with this multiplication, I'm going to use my highlighter to show you what I mean. Or maybe I can do this. Very nice. I'll do that. A little laser pointer. So this negative 1, I'm multiplying it by this 3, which is how I'm getting negative 3. And then I'm doing negative 1 times 2x and putting my answer here, which is negative 2x. And then I'm doing negative 1 times 2x squared, getting negative 2x squared. Then I'm adding the 0, doing 6x times 3, which is 18x, 6x times 2x, 12x squared, 6x times 2x squared, 12x to the third. And then I am adding each column straight down, and that is the answer. All right, so now on to our next page. So we're going to multiply again. So whenever you have something that's raised to the second power, you need to break it into two different pieces. So this will break down into 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3. And you can solve it exactly how we've been doing. I will solve this one using the distributive property method. So distributive property method is where we break it up and we do 2x, which is our first term, times the entire second term, so 2x plus 3. And then we do plus our second term here, this plus 3. That's where I'm getting that. Multiplied by 2x plus 3 again. Right, so I'm actually going to underline that in red. So that's where those are going. And then I'll underline this one in gray. We're splitting it up. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. And we're going to do 3 times 2x. That is 6x again. 3 times 3. That is 9. And then we're going to combine like terms, which is this positive 6x and that positive 6x. So we have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. And that is our answer. On to 33. It looks like we have another problem that just tells us to simplify. So simplify, again, can mean anything. It can mean multiply, divide, subtract, add. That just depends on what your problem looks like. In this case, it looks like we have two things minus with a minus sign in between. So we're subtracting. So with subtraction, once again, you have to distribute the negative to every single term. That's after the negative. Sorry. So this turns into a minus 3x squared minus x and a positive 2 because we have a minus onto a minus. And then I'm going to set it up just like an addition problem. So x squared minus 4x plus 6 minus 3x squared minus x plus 2. And we're going to add straight down. So 6 plus 2 is 8. Negative 4x minus x, remember that's technically a minus 1x, is a negative 5x. And then x squared minus 3x squared is a negative 2x squared. And then that is our answer. We're multiplying once again in number 34. This time I'll do normal traditional multiplication again. So we have 5x minus 4 with x plus 6. So we're going to do 6 times negative 4, which is negative 24. And we're going to do 6 times 5x, which is 30x. And now we're going to add our 0. And we will do x times negative 4, which is negative 4x. And then we're going to do x times 5x, which is just going to be 5x squared. And then we'll add straight down. Negative 24 plus 0 is negative 24. 30x minus 4x is 26x. And nothing plus 5x squared is just 5x squared. So there we go. There's our answer. (35) Identify degree and number of terms for 8x to the third power minus 4x plus 1. So degree is going to be our highest value of the exponent. And terms is how many sets of numbers we have in our equation. So, highest value of all of these exponents. We have an x to the third, we have just an x, and we have nothing. So the highest one is that 3. So our degree would be 3. And then number of terms, we have an 8x to the third, we have a minus 4x, and we have a plus 1. So number of terms is also 3. So there we go. Right? Because 1, 2, 3, that's a 3, that's a 1, that's 0. The ones I just labeled are the exponents. 36. Expand negative 2 times 3x squared minus x plus 7. So this is just another way of saying to simplify or multiply. So we are just going to distribute negative 2 onto each term here. So negative 2 times 3x squared is negative 6x squared. Negative 2 times negative x, that's a double negative, so we have a positive 2x. And then we have a negative 2 times a positive 7, that is a negative 14. All right, and that was it for section 4.